Hey, what it do, sports world? And welcome to the Winner Circle podcast, man, with me, Radius, man. Hey, talk about Lane Kiffin situation, man, and why I think that him bolting Ole Miss going to LSU, why I think that him bolting from Ole Miss going to LSU, it was a great decision, but just bad timing. Before I get started, share hit the like button, the subscribe button, and also the share button. And make sure y'all give me your feedback on what you all think about this segment. But hey, so, as you all know, within the last couple of days, Lane Kiffin has left Ole Miss and went to LSU. He's the new coach down there in Baton Rouge. As you know, we know the contract. I think he got $13 million, 7 years, 13 million, over 90 some $1 million guaranteed. So that's right there. Well, close to $100 million. And then also they will buy out 80%. If he's worth to get fired, they will be 80% of his buyout. Okay. Listen, I am not mad that Lane Kiffin went to LSU. I'm mad. Well, I'm not going to say I'm mad. I'm more disappointed at him leaving his team right now because Ole Miss got a chance to go to the college football playoffs, and he left them to go to LSU. Now, everybody can say that this is a calendar thing, but I think that, listen, Lane Kiffin is always looking for ways to leave. He's always looking for the next great job for himself. Lane Kiffin's just not, I'm gonna be honest, man. This dude right here is just not a loyal person, period. You go play for him, it's a year-to-year thing. You know how the players say they year-to-year, it's year-to-year with Lane Kiffin. He's happy at LSU now. He might stay at LSU for 6 years, 7 years, 5 years, 3 years. If that Alabama job opens up, I bet you any kind of money, LSU, he's going to leave you and go to his dream job. Because I ultimately thinks that Lane Kiffin is going into the Nick Saban footstep. I think that he wants to be Nick Saban more than Kirby Smart do. So I think that he went to LSU, and his next jump will be Alabama if that job ever opens up, which I don't know if it will. Let's look back at Lane Kiffin's. Let's look back at his coaching tree. So we know that he played quarterback for Fresno State. And then in 1999, he went to be a graduate assistant for the Colorado State Rams. And in 2000, he worked for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a defense quality control assistant. Okay, that's two. Now, this 99, one job. 2000, another job. In 2001 to 2006, he climbed his ranks at USC, starting with tight end coach, then wide receiver coach, then passing game coordinator, wide receiver, and then offensive coordinator. So this right here, within a 5-year span, that's how many he went all the way. He worked his way up the rankings. At 31 years old, which was 2007, Kiffin became head coach of the Oakland Raiders, making him at the time the youngest head coach in modern areas. The stint was rough. Over 2 years, he compiled a 5-15 record and was fired in 2008. So he got there in 2007 and he was fired in 2008. Make that make sense. In 2009, he took over as head coach of Volunteers. That lasted 1 season. 2000, and he was 7-6 before departing to USC. Think about all that I just said. This man right here got his first job in 98, 99. I mean, 96, 97, 98. 99, he was there. 2000, he was there. 2001 to 2006, he was here. 2007, he was here. 2008, he was here. And 2009, he's here. 2010 to 2013, head coach at USC was mixed results, filled with controversies, led by his dismissal in 2013. Y'all remember when he got fired on the tarmac? They had just came back and they ended up firing him at the airport. So, and in 2014 through 2016, he rebuilt his stock as offensive coordinator and quarterback coach under Nick Saban at Alabama. He helped them one of the nation's top offenses in the country and won a national championship in 2015 on Saban's staff. Now, let me tell y'all something about that Saban when he was with Alabama now. This right here tells you that this man is not loyal to nobody. Think about this. Do you all know that Nick Saban had to fire him? Because the next thing I'm about to tell you, Nick Saban had to fire Lane Kiffin because he had took job at Fort Atlantic and he did not want to do his duties as being Alabama's offensive coordinator. So Nick Saban was forced 1 week before the college football playoffs, in which I think they was about to play against Notre Dame or somebody, but he had to fire Lane Kiffin from being his offensive coordinator, and then he moved Steve Sarkisian in to be his offensive coordinator. So that just tells you. So think about that. In 2017, that's when 2017 to 2019, he was the head coach at Florida Atlantic, which he compiled a 27-13 record. Now, let me tell y'all something. When he was at Florida Atlantic, nobody wanted to get Lane Kiffin a job because they looked at what he did with the Raiders. They looked at what he did for Tennessee. They looked at what he did for USC. Nobody wanted to give him a job, not even LSU. LSU went out and they hired who? They went out and hired Brian Kelly. They would not want to touch. 2 years ago, nobody would have touched Lane Kiffin. Hell, 1 year ago, nobody would have touched Lane Kiffin. But all of a sudden, he's a hot commodity because he came to Ole Miss and he turned them around and turned them into a college football playoff. So in 2019, he ended up leaving Florida Atlantic and he went to Ole Miss. Over 6 seasons, he compiled a 54-19 record with multiple double-digit wins, winning season. Ole Miss transferred themselves into a serious contender, top-tier offense, major wins, and postseason relevancy. His tenure has helped rehabilitate his career, his narrative, to be a proven winner. That's basically what he did at Ole Miss. Now he left Ole Miss and went to LSU. Now in 2025, let's talk about what brought Lane Kiffin to LSU. Following the firing of LSU coach, the Tiger aggressively pursued Kiffin. LSU offered Kiffin and included a 7-year contract worth $12 to $13 million, positioning him to be one of the highest paid coaches in college football. There's only one coach that's higher paid than Lane Kiffin, and that is Kirby Smart, which is at 13. I think he's at 13.5 million, but Lane Kiffin is at 13 million, and he's never won a national championship. So just think about that. The timing at the critical inflection point, Ole Miss had just finished an historic 11-1 regular season and a likely college football playoff appearance. So Ole Miss is heading to the college football playoff without a head coach. That's the one thing that I do not like. So why did Lane Kiffin go to? Now Lane Kiffin said that Nick Saban was a big part of big reason why he went to LSU. I can believe that. I'm gonna tell y'all why I can believe that, because LSU was one of the I think that Nick Saban loved LSU, maybe not more than Alabama, but they're up there towards each other. They're right there with each other, because Nick Saban believes that if he never left LSU, then he won more championships than he won at Alabama. Because we got to think about it. When Nick Saban went to Alabama, when Nick Saban was at LSU, he had been there for 5 years. He already had his first national championship. Do you all know that Les Miles came in 2 seasons? He won his first national championship. Do you all know that was Nick Saban's last recruiting class? Glenn Dorsey and the boys, that was Nick Saban's last recruiting class at LSU that won the Les Miles national championship. So I can agree with what Nick Saban is saying. He possibly would have won more championships. I think that in that span, they probably would have repeated as champions after that. And they probably would have I'm not saying they would have three-peat, but I think they maybe skip a year, then they would have continued to dominate, because Saban was just not getting himself, basically he had just put his handprint on that LSU university. So I think that he's right. I think that he would have won maybe more than 6 national championships. I think they possibly could have won 10 national championships, honestly. So LSU came, they fired Brian Kelly, then they needed a coach. So, and then for the people that's saying, I keep hearing Stephen A. Smith and all the people on ESPN saying that Lane Kiffin should be able to coach Ole Miss. Now I'm gonna tell you why I think that that's right there. You cannot do that. First of all, tomorrow is what? It's National Signing Day, early National Signing Day. How can he be the head coach at Ole Miss and be the head coach at LSU when it's already National Signing Day? Number two, do you know at the beginning, in January the 3rd, 2nd or 3rd, what opens up on January the 3rd? The transfer portal. The transfer portal opened up on January the 3rd. That is when the playoff starts. So how can he be head coach? How can he recruit for LSU when he's still coaching Ole Miss in the college football playoffs? It's a conflict of interest. You cannot do it. You just can't. I don't care what you say. Yes, I would love to have Nick Saban, and and I'm hearing reports that they even sent Charlie White Jr. back to be the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss. That would be good. Even though I would say this right here, I would say if I'm Pete Golden, I say you take your whole staff with you, right now. Now I know that right there can sound bad, but I say you take your whole staff with you right now, because why bring back somebody that chose to go with you? Why? Listen, we don't need that. We need to establish ourselves and get these boys ready. Now that's a good move. I think that they're right here will help their offense with Charlie Weiss, because I think that Charlie Weiss ain't gonna do nothing to be doing with Nick Saban. I'm doing what Lane Kiffin tell him to do. Because if you think that he's not still communicating with Lane Kiffin, you crazy as heck. I can already tell you he's in communication with Lane Kiffin, and Lane Kiffin is probably putting together a game plan for Ole Miss in the college football playoff. That's just my bet. So, but what do he brings to LSU? I'm gonna tell you what LSU. I think that Lane Kiffin can turn LSU back into the golden years. I think he can turn LSU back to a powerhouse. Because why? Because he have the financial backings. He have the resources. See, they said it's reported that he's $25 million into NIL. So what do that mean? That means that he can pretty much get a whole roster of players. Also, it's the offense. He's going to have one of those offenses that's going to be hard to stop. The defense is going to be a problem depending on what type of defensive coach that he brought in. You know, his defense wasn't that good until he brought in Pete Golden, until he got Pete Golden, which he was run out of Alabama, because he couldn't stop a runny nose in Alabama. So they ran him out of Alabama, and then he landed over there in Ole Miss. But he got Ole Miss off defense playing good. Pete Golden's the head coach now at Ole Miss. So he's not going to LSU. So who's going to be LSU's defensive coordinator? That's going to be the biggest problem. We know who's going to dial up the offense. So that ain't that's not going to be a hard thing to do. They're going to average big points. They're going to put up big points. I think that Trinidad Chandler, if he ends up staying, I think if he can get another year of college, he ends up transferring to LSU. I think that Keywan Lacey, the running back, I think he's going to transfer to LSU. I think that Watson, Sammy Watkins' nephew, I think he's going to transfer because he's a true freshman. So I think he's going to follow Les Miles to LSU. So I think that he's going to get a lot of these players from Ole Miss. That's just my opinion. But I'm going to tell y'all, Lane Kiffin at LSU, a 3-year outlook. This is my 3-year outlook. I broke this down myself. So, hey, this is a 3-year outlook on how I think that this thing is going to change. The moment Lane Kiffin stepped into Baton Rouge, LSU instantly became a top 5 recruiting threat again. Here's why. Offensive stars flock to LSU. Kiffin's system attracts quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers who wants big numbers and NFL exposure. That's going to be, and what I just say, Trinidad Challenge, quarterback, Keywan Lacey, running back, and wide receiver, Watson, wide receiver. So they all are going to come to LSU. The transfer portals become the weapon. Kiffin is one of the best portals evaluators in the country. LSU will land up. They will load up quickly. I say the same thing. I think they're going to get in this transfer portal, and I think it's going to look a little bit like Indiana. I think that LSU, they was down this season. Next season, they're going to look like how Indiana looked last year. Possibly, they maybe in the college football playoff conversation, maybe his first and second year. But he's going to get players quick. Louisiana talent stays home. Kiffin will lock down the states better than any LSU has hired since Ed Orgeron. If y'all remember, Ed Orgeron was one of the best recruiters LSU has had. I think Lane Kiffin do the same thing that Ed Orgeron do. I think a lot of LSU talent, homegrown talent, is going to stay at home and be LSU Tigers. I think that the projection, LSU becomes the top 5 recruiting class every year Kiffin is here. Number 2, on-field identity, modern, fast, and aggressive. That's the way LSU runs. Their defense, got to wait to see who they're going to hire on the defensive side. But if LSU can become a top 25 defensive team, it's no telling how far this team right here could be in only his first or second year. I think that around his second year, LSU becomes a problem for Alabama and Georgia. You don't hire Lane Kiffin to be competitive. You hire him to win championship. LSU boosters know that. LSU boosters are some of the hardest to deal with in all of college football. They did not hire Lane Kiffin to come there and win 9 wins. Ole Miss was cool with winning 9 and 10 wins. No, LSU is national championship or bust. I think that the pressure is going to get on Lane Kiffin around year 3 if he do not win a national championship by his 3rd year. I think the pressure is going to get on him. I think they're going to give him time, but I think the pressure is going to get on him. So he's going to come in and he wants to put his mark on this LSU team right now. Kiffin's offense give them advantage against slower defenses. He's not afraid to take risks, which is exactly what you need to beat elite programs like Georgia, Alabama, Texas. These are teams you're going to need. My projection is LSU pull in one of the major SEC upsets in next season. I think that they can possibly jump right there with Texas, Alabama, and Georgia within the next 2 seasons. I'm predicting it right here, right now, that they will be right there with these teams. This right here, what I think that their first year is going to look like. Year 1, I think they're going to go 9-3 or 10-2. The offense is going to be dangerous. The load, the wrestler is going to be fully, but it's not what he wants to be. It's not going to be the roster that he really wants. I think that year 2 is when he's going to start putting his handprints on LSU. But I think first year, 9-3, 10-2 being the type of season. His year 2, I think they're going to be the SEC West contention. I think the offense is going to be top 5. And I think they're going to go 10-2 or 11-1. That right there would be the realistic thing, I think, in year 2. Year 3, this is when LSU becomes a playoff team again. This right here, Lane Kiffin has his quarterback. The portal is going to be booming for LSU. And this right here, when they can make this right here, when they will be at a championship level. So I'm giving them a 3 years, even though the second year could possibly be the year where they get into the college football playoffs. But and the way things are working now, if they can pull a few upsets in year 1 with them going to a 12-team playoff, he could possibly be in the college playoff even as early as next season, depending on how he do in the transfer portal. Risk that could disrupt this projection. Red flags, y'all know he will leave a program. Lane Kiffin will leave a program. He's now expected to deliver championship, not just big offenses. That's what I just said. LSU, you have to win championship. You cannot just come in and think you're going to just score points and we're going to be happy with 9 wins. LSU is a championship program. You have to win there. And y'all know how much I hate LSU, but I'm realist about it. They are a program that's built on national championships. His defense must be consistently in the top 25 or LSU will not reach the playoffs. He's going to have one of the best he's going to have one of the best defenses to compete in the SEC. You just got to. And if he do not do it, which I think he will, I think that Lane Kiffin is going to, because LSU have some hell of athletes. So I think that he's going to get the talent that he needs. He's going to get everything that he wants at LSU. I think that he's going to have a top 10 recruiting class. I think he's going to get in the portal. He's going to wipe out the portal. He probably even wipe out Ole Miss. Some of the players are not going to come because they feel like he's not loyal enough. But a lot of players are going to come because they're looking at what he can do for them in their careers. So, but that is the thing that I can say. I'm not happy with him going to LSU, but it was the right move. And for the people that's saying that Nick Saban, I don't think Nick Saban, I think Nick Saban maybe gave him a little bit of info on LSU, but I'm not saying he dictated his decision. Maybe he did. Maybe Nick Saban told him, listen, that was the best job, one of the best jobs I ever had besides Alabama. And you ain't getting that job. So this right here is the second best job. And everybody know that LSU is a top 2 in resources. They have a hell of a man. They got some crazy ass fans too. I got some crazy ass friends. You know, my cousin is an LSU fan. Ron, shout out to my cousin Ron, man. You know, he an LSU fan. But Ray Lee, Vondrez, Mario, CJ, all of them is LSU fans. You see, but at the end of the day, and a lot of people that's from my hometown is LSU fans, being that we're so close to the Louisiana line. So, but LSU is going to be a powerhouse, dude. This is a team right here that's going to be able to recruit. They're going to be able to steal recruits from Alabama, Georgia. That's just the way things are going to work, especially when you got Lane Kiffin and you have that LSU brand, because they have a hell of a stadium. You ever go to a game at Tiger Stadium, at Death Valley, a night game, dude, that place, that's one of the worst places you can play at. So you're gonna have the exposure. You're gonna play in the SEC. You're gonna play big time football. Take nothing away from Ole Miss. But Ole Miss ain't LSU. Yes, Ole Miss Oxford is a good place. It's an amazing place. I like it. But it ain't LSU. It ain't Baton Rouge. That place is different. LSU is just different. And I think Lane Kiffin, if he play his cards right, he can possibly go down there and possibly build something special down there at LSU. Like I said, they have all the resources that they need. And I think that this team right here can possibly be on the verge of doing something special. I say in year 2 or year 3, he can possibly be challenging Nick, possibly challenging Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian for the best over there in the SEC with Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Like I said before, I'm not against what he did. It's just the timing of it. But I think that's not a Lane Kiffin issue. That's more of a college football issue. That's why I say Nick Saban should be the commissioner. Somebody need to be over this thing. This thing is just the wild, wild west. NIL is the wild, wild west. Transfer reporters is the wild, wild west. Coaching carousel is the wild, wild west. Everything is just so discombobulated in college football right now. And I love college football. I love it more than I love the NFL. But right now, it's just the wild, wild west right now. And I think that it's not gonna get better until they put a cap on this and put somebody over this whole thing that can pretty much tell these players, hey, this is when the transfer portal open. This is when National Signing Day is gonna be. This is what the NIL could be. Until they get that right there, it's gonna be just like this right here. We're gonna have this problem again next season. Also, last thing but not least, the college football playoff was released. I just think that that's another thing that they need to get rid of. They need to get rid of that committee. You got a bunch of old dudes that don't know shit about football, and they just get into a room and just look at film and think they know who the best teams in the nation are. Listen, everybody know that the SEC is the hardest conference, then the Big Ten, and then everybody else after that, because it really don't matter about them. I say this right here. The SEC need to stop, and I said this right here at the beginning of the season, Texas. Y'all didn't want to listen to me. I said it. You do not have a benefit in going to Ohio State, and we won. Why would you do it? Don't do it. Play us cheap. Play Chattanooga. Play against FIU. Play against anybody. You don't have to go to Ohio State, because when it comes down to it, now you all are on the outside looking in with 3 losses, with that Ohio State loss coming back to haunt you. Because if you think about it, right, if you think about the SEC, normally in the SEC, you're going to go down to Kentucky and Florida, and you might lose on a Saturday night because it's just hard to win in the swamp. It's just hard to win in Texas A&M. It's just hard to win in Vanderbilt and all of these other places. It's just hard to win. So sometimes you might end up going down there and losing a game, and then now you're in this predicament you're in right now, Texas, which you might not make the college football playoff, because that Ohio State loss is coming back, is looming even more now than it was later in the middle of the season, because you lost against Georgia and you lost against Florida. Now if you come in 10 wins, you 10-2 right now, we not even have this conversation. I think you all in playoff guaranteed. But because you went up to Ohio State with nothing to gain and everything to lose, that's why you're on the outside looking in. That's right there why all these SEC teams, we going to a 9-game schedule next year. I think you need to go away from playing these top teams. Go away from playing Florida State, go away from playing Ohio State, going away from playing all of these teams, because I'm going to tell y'all why. Ohio State and Indiana is undefeated for a reason, because they didn't play against each other. Texas and Georgia played against each other. Alabama, Georgia played against each other. So, you got to play against the SEC teams. Ohio State, they know they can skate straight through the season. The only game that they play against that's hard is Michigan, and that ain't even hard. So, when you put yourself in this predicament, Texas, this is what happens. And that's right there why I say, get away from these hard games. You already got 9 games that's going to be hard anyway. Why not just play those 9 games and just let it play out how it play out? You don't have to play a hard non-conference game. Alabama did it today. They not playing against South Florida anymore. They're playing against Chattanooga. Guess what? I'm glad Alabama did it. They was the first team to do it. And you don't have to listen to what these commentators are saying, because you're benefiting yourself. That's the same thing that Indiana is doing. That's the same thing Ohio State is doing. All of these Big Ten teams do not play against nobody, and then they play against each other maybe one time, and then they get that one loss, and they look like they're a really good team until they play against a really good team, and then they get stomped out by 21. But that's enough about that, y'all. We'll talk about this right here at another time. But thank y'all again for listening to another great segment of the Winner Circle Podcast with me, Ray Diggs. Until next time, y'all have a great Tuesday night, man. Be safe out there. Peace.